So, I want to share a story with you. And this story is not just for any of my new friends in Australia watching this, because we all know that any person can share any video anywhere around the world at any time. So this story we're going to explore is for any young person asking the same questions that in fact we all ask. What am I going to do? How am I going to show up in the world? How am I going to maybe make a living? And how am I going to be happy doing that as well? And so that's why I really want to share this story with you. And it's a story that has a middle. And the middle takes place at Wembley Stadium over the course of 2 nights, where more than 160,000 people gathered to cheer one person. To come for 2 hours each night and be captivated by just one person. Now that's the middle of the story. The beginning of this story, for me, was about 12 years ago, when I made a stupid decision. Now this decision was stupid because it went against what everyone thought was the sensible thing that I should be doing. Because I had the best education money can buy. And instead of using this best education to go and become a lawyer or an accountant, all of these other kind of respectable professions. And look, there's nothing wrong with any of those. If you want to be one of those, fantastic. But that really wasn't for me. I decided that I wanted to become a hip-hop entrepreneur. But the reason it was a crazy decision, a stupid decision, was because I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship or much about hip-hop. But I did know that that was what I was inspired to do. That was what I was really feeling moved to go towards. And after some time of trying to make things work, we created, my friends and I, an amazing little scene of UK hip-hop in my local town. And after some time, we went on tour. We went on a nationwide tour with a band who just had a #1 hit. And on this tour, there was a young lad, about so high, who was on tour with the main band who we were supporting. And every night, this young lad's job was to fix all the guitars, make sure they didn't have any broken strings, and to make sure that the main band had water, had towels, that their microphones were connected, all of that stuff. And to me, this young lad was just an annoying kid. He drank all the free beer and, then would kind of start getting a bit, he'd be like, hey George, let's rap battle. Or he'd just be pestering the guys in the main band. He'd be like asking them questions like, yeah, why did you do this? What was happening here? And, it was just quite intense, quite full on. But you know what? That young lad taught me one of the greatest lessons it's ever been my privilege to learn, which is, it's not about who you are now. It's about who you're going to become. Because that young lad, when I knew him, he was about 15, 16. Stayed on our sofa, we looked after him a bit. And at the time, he was trying to be a singer-songwriter. And you know what? He was average. He was average. But 5 years later, he was selling out Wembley Stadium 2 nights running. He's gone on to become the biggest superstar musically that the UK has produced for many, many decades. And he's done it in his own way. He's kept his ginger hair. And I'm sure by now you know I'm talking about Ed Sheeran. And I share Ed Sheeran's story and my very small connection with him because it relates to you. It relates to you and who you will become. I said that when I knew Ed, he was average. So what did he do to go from just being this average singer-songwriter to being someone who can sell out many thousands of tickets and keep thousands and thousands of people captivated by his performances? Well, I want to deconstruct that for you, because I know that no matter who you are or where you are right now, that same journey of growth is possible for you. So what did Ed do? Well, he found something he was passionate about and he pursued it relentlessly. So what are you passionate about? Now, don't worry about how you're going to make money from it or what it might look like in the future. Right now, right here, what stirs your heart? What moves you? What are you inspired by? And I want to tell you, the thing to do is just to take one step in the direction of that inspiration. But know you're going to have to do something else as well. Because Ed didn't just go, hey, I'm inspired by music, and that's enough. No, Ed applied what I call the talent formula. Now this is a way for anybody to turn any talent into a world-class gift that makes the world a better place and sees them well rewarded for sharing that gift with the world. And it has 3 stages. The first thing, you have got to practice. 1 year, Ed Sheeran played 312 gigs. 312. There's only 365 days in a year. And for 312 days of that 365, he was playing gigs. So if you want to go out there and make a living and make a difference doing something that you love, you've got to be prepared to practice. Now the next thing Ed did was he had the right mindset. It wasn't just that he said, hey, I'm going to practice a lot. He also was prepared to do whatever it takes, to succeed. And that meant, in this case, actually for a period, making himself homeless. He knew that he had a very supportive family life. Family were really supportive of him and his mission. But he knew that if he was going to be successful in that really top level, he needed to make it on his own. So he left home and actually slept on friends' sofas, and that gave him the hunger and the drive and the desire to really take his success to the next level. So he had that mindset. So he practiced, he had the mindset, and the third element of this talent formula is all about putting yourself in the right setting, putting yourself in an environment that is going to allow you to succeed. What did Ed do when he was 15, 16 years old? He came on tour with a band who'd had a #1 record. So every night he was able to stand at the side of the stage and watch a top performer and analyse what were they doing, learning. And I said, what did he do after he drunk all those free beers? He started asking questions, pestering us to rap battle. He was in an environment where he was able to learn how to master his craft. And look, if you are sitting with people who love being on the sofa, eating junk food and drinking soda, that's not going to be an environment that's going to allow you to run a marathon. So really, put yourself in an environment that is going to inspire you, encourage you, uplift you. And I'm sorry, you may have to ask some tricky questions. Are the people you surround yourself with allowing you to achieve your fullest potential? Because if the answer is no, well, you may have to make some tough decisions. But they are tough decisions that ultimately will serve those people you are leaving behind, because they will be inspired by your example. As you start shining, as you start soaring, they will go, wow, they're at a new level. And they know that because you can do it, they can do it too. So Ed pursued his passion. He applied the talent formula, practice, mindset, and setting. And you know what? He had 2 really important things that he also did. He had massive self-belief. Now, you don't make yourself homeless in pursuit of your passion if you don't believe in what you're doing. And the other thing, he did it by his own rules. He did it by his own rules. He didn't dye his hair as some people were telling him to. He kept his ginger hair and he kept his own style. And now he's famous for it. It's a part of his brand. So I ask you, are you wearing those clothes because they're your style or because they're someone else's style? Are you saying those things to that lady, to that guy, because that's what you really mean or because that's what others think is cool? And that may sound simplistic, but really the deep question here is, whose values are you living? Whose rules are you creating your life by? Because please, let them be your own rules. Do not get to the point where you are my age or older and you realize you've been living someone else's life. Right now, at your age, the world is your oyster. You are capable of anything. So create your life by your rules. And the final thing that Ed did was he went out there and tried to make a difference. He went out there to serve his fans, to try and make their lives better in some small way. One great story of this is there was one night when, just as he was beginning to get famous, the venue where he was due to perform a gig wasn't big enough to accommodate all of the crowds. So after the main gig had finished, he went outside and played on the streets 3 more gigs so that every single person who turned up to watch him got to see his performance. That is what I mean when I say, how can you serve others? Because if you can serve others, so much of your success will be guaranteed. We live in a time where we face, as a species, as humanity, unprecedented challenges. But we also have unprecedented opportunities. You know, I am sharing this from my living room in a tiny place called Porthleven in Cornwall in the UK. You can probably hear the seagulls outside. And I know that I can reach anywhere on earth pretty much. And that has never before existed in the whole scope of human history. So we have unprecedented opportunities to meet these challenges that as a species we have got to meet. Whether it be climate change, or whether it be water shortages, drought, famine, whether it be the fact that suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45. It's time for you to ask, how can you make a difference? And you live in a time when there has never been more ways for you to do what you love and use that thing to make a difference to other people's lives. And that is literally the recipe for success for the next decade, for the next 20 years, however long. If you want to create a life that is joyful, the key is how can you make other people's lives a joy as well. If you want to make a living and make a difference doing something you love, find ways to help other people make a living and make a difference doing what you would love to do. It is that simple. There have never been more tools, there have never been more ways to connect with people, and there's never been a greater need. I stand here now knowing that whoever you are and whatever you love to do, you can do it in an incredible way and you can make an amazing difference in this world. And I want to finish with just a few fundamentals. And I choose my words very carefully. That word fundamental. In whatever you do, make sure you are having fun doing it. Because that is the thing that will get you out of bed in the morning. That will get you energized and get you going the extra mile. And also look, here's some truth. You're going to need certain fundamental skills. Can you write an email or a letter without spelling mistakes? It's pretty basic, but it's so important. If you want to create your dreams, you're going to need others to support you. So being able to communicate with them in a powerful way is so important. Some basic maths. Can you work out what percentage of a deal you are owed? If one person is getting 30% of a deal and another person is getting 30% and you're giving 30% to good causes, well, how much money is that going to equal for each person? Okay? These are some fundamentals where when I look back on my schooling career, my university, all of this stuff, so much of it wasn't important. But what I did have was a really strong foundation that allowed me to start making the life I want and to start making the difference to other people's lives that gives my life meaning, that brings me joy. So I hope from this message, from this video, you've taken something. Because I really believe that there has never been a greater need for you, for your gifts, for your unique fingerprint out of 7 billion people to decide what is it you would love to do and how will you do it to make other people's lives better. Thank you. And if you've taken one tiny thing from this video, please share it with someone you know who it might make a difference to as well. and I wish you every success and every joy.